Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another edition of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by our good friends at Titan MRI and brought to you by our good friends at Meldon Law, both major sponsors of the Bob Dooley Invitational. We are at the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and he will join us as he does every Monday. I am very lucky to have Coach Spurrier every Monday, believe me. We got some other great guests scheduled for you this week. Thursday, Paul Feinbaum is going to join us. That'll be great. And then next Thursday, Grant Holloway, Olympic sprinter, who's getting ready to start his indoor season, will join us. And look forward to that very much. I've been trying to get Grant on, but he and I both have had scheduling conflicts. And in fact, we're going to tape this one on Wednesday and then bring it to you the following Thursday just because of his schedule. And Feinbaum had already agreed to come on. So anyway, you don't really need to hear about our inner workings. What you do need to hear is the Process Service of Gainesville Starting Five, brought to you by our good friends at Process Service of Gainesville, Scott Hart, and the good folks out there who do a great job. And we will start with number one, and that is the Super Bowl being set. We know who's playing, Kansas City and San Francisco. They are the two teams I was rooting for. It was weird because my wife was rooting for the other two teams and therefore was not happy and went to bed angry, and I went to bed happy. Because I've said this before, I'm a closet Chiefs fan. I'm not a huge Chiefs fan, but that's my favorite team. That's the team I root for, mainly because of Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I had Travis Kelce on my fantasy team. That was a factor too. But no, again, next year, but I've been rooting for them for a while. My wife claims I'm a front runner, and she may be right, but I am. So I was happy with that result. And we get Mahomes versus Purdy, which could not be. Mahomes didn't come out with that much fanfare when he came out of Texas Tech. But he certainly was considered to be a quarterback that could be great. Brock Purdy, of course, last pick in the draft. It's almost become a cliche now. Did I think the Lions went for it on fourth down too much? Yeah. But I was rooting for the Niners. And again, this is weird for me because I was a Rams fan growing up. But when they moved to St. Louis, I dumped them totally. I just didn't want anything to do with them. And I just became a Niners, I don't even want to say fan there. I just like the Niners. I like Brock Purdy. I love the story. It's a great story. The Gators, by the way, have 5 guys on the Chiefs, so I'll be rooting for the Chiefs again. And that may have something to do with it. They got 5 guys from Florida on that team. So 22nd straight year, Florida will have somebody playing in the Super Bowl, and they've got multiple people playing in this one. I don't think anybody's on San Francisco this year. There may be one guy, but I can't think of anybody that is. But we're rooting for the Chiefs. Anyway, 2 great games, and they were fun to watch. I just plopped myself down for, 5, 6, 7 hours and watched football, and it was just great. I had always had something on the second TV when I was not out there watching it with my wife. Actually had an NBA game on, which I had no interest in, but I just wanted something to watch during the commercials. I'm just weird that way. But anyway, it was a fun Sunday. And unfortunately, there's only one game left until August in football. So we have to deal with that. All right, number 2 on the Process Service of Gainesville Starting Five. 49ers opened at 2.5-point favorites. And all I could think was, oh, boy, we're going to hear it from Travis Kelce. When they win the Super Bowl, he's going to get the mic. They disrespected us. Nobody cared. Nobody thought we could do it. Everybody was – which is what they did last year when everybody said they would win. But that's not the point. I will say this, guys. Those of you who are anti-NFL because of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, get a life, really. I mean, so – a girl went to her boyfriend's chance to go to the Super Bowl and will probably be at the Super Bowl, even though she's playing a concert in Japan the night before. She got to fly a red-eye to get over there. She'll probably go. It's not her fault that they show her all the time. It's just get over it. And so they were down there on the field and they exchanged a kiss. Oh, get over it. Get a life. I don't look. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Um, I I think I can name one of her songs now because forgot that that song "Bad Blood" is hers, right? Okay, that's the one I can name. I'm not a fan of hers. I think it's remarkable what she's been able to do and how she's taken over the world, basically. And at first, I was like a lot of people. I thought this was all set up and she's going to dump him right before the Super Bowl. That could still happen. She could dump him the week of the Super Bowl. He won't have 11 catches. But give Travis Kelce a lot of credit for what he was able to do to catch 11 passes in that game. But they will play the disrespect card. There's no doubt about it. He also broke Jerry Rice's record, which I didn't think would ever get broken for most catches in the playoffs. But, yeah, like I said, it's I love that the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl because it does make people angry. And that's always cool. If my team makes it and makes you angry. But if you're angry because of Taylor Swift, like I said, get a life. All right, number three, on the process service of Gainesville starting five. We do want to talk about Florida basketball. Certainly being up 21 with 10 minutes to go and going to overtime and really almost losing the game. Georgia has the ball for the last shot and will have completed one of the great comebacks of all time. These happen in college basketball. We know this. They happen in the NBA a lot, but they happen in college basketball too. Remember a couple of years ago, Florida came back like twice from 18 plus down and beat a couple of teams at home. They happen. You shouldn't let it happen at home. You shouldn't let it happen at all, but they happen. And certainly, to have Georgia have the last shot now, they got a steal, Will Richard, and he ended up with the last shot, missed it. But I thought, again, played another great game. But Florida dominated the inside with the rebounding and everything, and they were playing great basketball. But this is the Florida team. This is what it is. They will show you spurts where they look as good as any team in the country. This kind of reminds me of that Chiozza team when they were I remember they went out and they played, I think it was Duke in the finals of the tournament out in Portland, and they lost like 104 to 100 or something like that. And I remember everybody telling me afterwards, I think it was the day Mullen got hired, that the next day I was at his press conference and everybody was saying, man, Florida's a Final Four team. Well, they weren't. They could score. They couldn't defend. And this team is the same way. They can score with anybody, but they can't defend. And when they have a bad shooting day, they're done. They have no chance. And that's why I want Florida to get in the tournament. They're not going to go far in the tournament because all they got to do is run into a good player. They've given up 36 and 35 to two guys in the last 3 weeks during this 3-game winning streak. They are what they are, and you're just going to have to hope that they are enough to get into the tournament. Right now, 49th in the net. There's only 3 schools in the top 40 in the net that haven't got a quad 1 win. Florida, SMU, and Gonzaga. Gonzaga, which is an iffy to make the tournament this year. But they're 49th in the net. That's where you want to be. They still got to get these wins. They got to get a win. I'm not expecting them to go to Rupp and beat Kentucky. I think they could go to Texas A&M and win that game. It'll be tough, but it's not going to be easy. But they can win that game. They got to win some road games eventually. They have gotten to help a little bit on these neutral site games that they won, and even the ones they lost, in that teams are playing better. Pitt, FSU playing a little better, but the bottom line is they've got to win some games. They still got to win some more games. It was very important to hold serve this week for them to get those 2 home wins, even though both games they blew big leads. One they let it get down to 6. This one they let it get tied, went to overtime. But in overtime, Zion pulling with a huge, I think he had 7 points in overtime. Yeah, was big in overtime, and certainly the Gators got the win they need to get. 9 straight against Georgia. And so I'm getting ready to go do radio after we get done here. And if people are complaining, I'm going to tell them stop. I have a saying, nobody suffers winning like Gator fans. Don't make it true, okay? It's just a saying. Don't make it true. You won the game. You beat Georgia for the 9th straight time. You're 3-0 against Mike White, the coach who abandoned you on the side of the road and kicked you to the curb. Just take the win and be happy. Win by 1, like I always say. Win by 1. They won by 4. They did better than win by 1. All right, let's get to number 4 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5, which is at Florida, hired a special teams coach. Well, they still have the same special teams coach, Chris Couch, but they brought in Joe Houston from the Patriots, and he was at Iowa State. Seems to have a good pedigree. I just think getting another set of eyes on thing is going to be huge. Special teams should not be as unimpactful. That's not even a word, I don't think. Unimpactful? Impactful is a word. Unimpactful? I'm going to use it. Unimpactful as they are. They're only impactful negative. Every once in a while, they'll make a good play on special teams, but it's like few and far between. They need to get better. Not only get better, but be excellent at special teams. How about if Florida was great on special teams the way they were when Urban Meyer was here? Because he put such an emphasis on it. And guys wanted to play special teams, and they knew that was their road to get to be a starter on the 22 was to be good on special teams. They just need to recreate that culture somehow. And I don't know how they're going to do it, but it's up to him. And if they're bad on special teams again, I'll go, nice hire. Look, we don't know what it's going to turn out with, but I think Billy Napier's had a pretty good offseason. He's brought in 2 of the top, according to these rankings, 2 of the top 10 players in the country. I know that the recruiting class wasn't what you hoped it would be, but they supplemented it with transfer portal guys and got a couple of guys that were at Alabama and Texas. And he's addressed the 2 big issues. Defense, not good, hired 2 coaches. Special teams, not good, hired a coach. He's hearing you, guys. He's hearing you. So we'll see how that all works out. But it seems like I was just ecstatic that they hired. If they had hired me to be their special teams coach, at least somebody else would have been saying, hey, make sure we get 11 on the field and nobody has the same number. That would be my goal on special teams. All right. Finally, number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. I did want to salute the women's team for getting that win over Texas A&M. A&M, of course, rallied from way down again. There must be maybe they built the O-Dome on an old Indian burial site or something. But I don't know why Florida can't hold leads, but they lost the lead again. I noticed the Texas A&M bench, they were going, oh, timeout, you better call timeout because we're coming at you now. And Florida, instead, this time, got it done and finished the game. And Texas A&M's not a bad team. They're not a great team, but they've played a lot of games where they've had leads and just couldn't hang on, couldn't finish them. They finished this one. They need to finish a lot more. They got a lot of tough games coming up. I think this game, they don't play till Sunday at LSU. You're not going to win that game. But after that, I don't think anybody else is ranked. So put together a little run here and still make the tournament. Right now, they're not a tournament team, although they have played better and they're a better team. And I like what she's doing, and she's brought in these 2 McDonald's All-Americans. But the bottom line is they haven't done enough. They need to get some wins. So I'm not expecting you to go win at LSU, but you need to win a lot of games still to go. All right, that is our process service of Gainesville starting 5. We appreciate process service of Gainesville. We appreciate all of our sponsors, especially the ones who are involved in our next segment, because then we bring on the HBC for Meldon Monday to talk about the playoff games and his team, the Niners, who he played for, of course, many years. 10 years, I think he got in with the Niners. I think only 1 year he did play. I should ask him about that. He played 1 year where Brody got hurt and he ended up having to play a lot, and then Brody came back for the playoffs. And maybe we'll ask him about that, or if not, we'll get to him next week. I know he's rooting for in the Super Bowl, though, and that is the Niners. Well, we'll talk about that and more here on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studio. Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he has just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And, of course, Meldon Law also brings you Mondays with Meldon, which is Coach Spurrier's time to be on. And we love having him, and especially after this weekend. That was I don't know. Yeah. I know you like the Niners still because you played there for so many years. So you were happy about that result.
Yeah, we all pull for the Niners. In fact, my wife, Jerry, she's on a group text with the wives from way back in the 70s when I played there and so forth. And she had about 30 different texts during the course of the game. Yeah. But, they say yesterday is the best games in pro football all year, those 2 games. Yeah, and usually Super Bowl, some team may win by 3 touchdowns a lot of years. But these 2 games yesterday were really good, but it still came down to the teams that made mistakes. And but the Baltimore game, Kansas City had a great defensive game plan.
Boy, they played well.
And, of course, it came down to a Baltimore guy got a toning penalty that cost him at least 3 points.
Save Flowers, and
then they fumbled going in the end zone.
Same
guy. That was 10 points, and they lost by 7. So, 2 crucial errors.
Do a pick in the end zone, too.
Yep. And, of course, Mahomes was really good, and they played well, but the mistakes by the Ravens. But I like the game plan against Lamar Jackson. When you got a guy that can run like that, what they did, they didn't try to circle him and let him cut up inside. They bull rushed. They bull rushed, so he had to go sideways out that way.
Right.
And then you can, head him off at the pass. But they kept him bottled up.
And to bull rush, you've got to have guys that are physically strong, that can
get pressure straight ahead.
And they seem to be able to do it. I was thinking about you when they called for the deep pass on 3rd and 4th.
And 1? No.
I guess it was 3rd and 4 at the time. They threw that deep pass, and I was like, that's a Spurrier call.
Well, in hindsight, I wish I'd called more of those. In hindsight, that's what you should do. As a play caller, you're supposed to call a play that's good against whatever defense they're using. Right. So if they got everybody up there, why run it? There's all kind of land down there to throw it. So you just got to get it called and go.
That drives me crazy when I see a team that's got a 4th and 1, and they first of all they go in the deep, in the shotgun handoff, and then hand it off 5 yards deep, and they get stuffed. And I'm like, why? Well, and the coaches will tell you, well, if you're good enough and you're strong enough and you're tough enough, you should be able to get this first down. That's not the answer.
Easier said than done. Easier said than done. Yeah, when they've got 8 guys up there all pinching gaps and everything, it's hard to run for 1 yard. It really is out of that shotgun. I agree.
Yeah, I actually told Urban Meyer, I said, you should have run on that 4th and 1 with Tebow when they lost to Ole Miss. Should have run the jump pass there. It would have gone for 100 yards. I mean,
hindsight's always a 20/20, isn't it?
And then in the other game, you had Dan Campbell taking every risk possible, going for it on 4th down all the time.
Yeah, I believe I'd kicked the field goal when they were 3 down, 4th and 3. 4th and 3, that's under 50% chance, I think, to make. But they've been doing it all year, so that's their mindset is to go for them. And I like going for them, but when you're 3 down with that much time, I believe I'd try to get it.
Yeah, and he didn't take it one time when they could have made it a 3-score game, and that to me was the point where I go, you're like, I believe like you can study analytics all you want and what the numbers say and what the percentages say, but you got to feel the game.
That's right.
When you're going through it, and again, you weren't dealing with the analytics that much. You were just going with what your feel was and what you saw on the field.
Well, I definitely like going for 4th downs on the other side of the 50. And but other than that, in hindsight, sometimes we kick too many field goals from the 1 or 2 or 3 yard line. But usually it was the plays before that I wish I could have called again. But you got to have your plan and your passes and your runs, and when you get in that situation, let it go. But anyway, it should be a heck of a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Kansas City, San Francisco. Purdy played a good game. For San Francisco. He ran around and made plays, so he definitely has improved his status as one of the best quarterbacks up there, I think.
It's an amazing story, and it goes back to it's all about where you get drafted to. Like you getting drafted to San Francisco was not good for your playing career. It was good for your career,
longevity.
Yeah, longevity. Yeah. But if you had been drafted by somebody else, you'd have been able to play right away. And it may have gone good, it may have gone bad, who knows? But Brock Purdy went to the best place he could have gone, which was a team that's loaded at every position. And I think he's doing it, but he's doing a wonderful job. And he had to take that game on his own shoulders, down 24-7.
Yeah, it was an excellent comeback for the 49ers, and it may lead to a Super Bowl. It'll be interesting. But for Kansas City to, 6 years in a row? Or 5 out of 6. 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. Yeah.
I mean, I give a lot of credit to Mahomes. I give a lot of credit to Andy Reid.
Yeah.
What a play caller he is.
Yeah, he's the best. And he's got history to show he's the best. That's for sure.
What's the best play call you ever made in your life, in your career, either at Florida, Duke, South Carolina, anywhere? The best one where you said,
"No,
that's one that stays with you."
All right. This might have been the best one. We're playing Clemson, and we had 3rd and 8 on their goal line, and we're down. We were down 21. Wait a minute. We're down 17-14. So, we could have kicked a field goal and tied, but if we tied back then, we didn't have overtime.
Didn't have overtime.
So we could not have won the ACC. But we had we saw something in their defense. They screwed up their defensive play before, so we snuck it back out right on the goal line and threw it to him and won 21-17. So if I only had one play,
that would be
that'd be it, because it led to the ACC championship, which led to 6 SEC championships and 1 national.
That's right.
And if we don't beat Clemson, Florida would never hired me, because I didn't go to Alabama, and I never worked for Nick Saban or Bear Bryant. So how are you going to get a job? So, but we won the ACC, so I got a job. But anyway, let's brag on our basketball teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Men won both of them this past week, and our ladies had a good win yesterday.
They did have a good win yesterday. I watched that whole game.
Yeah. So both of our teams, Carrera, she's really playing well, scoring about 25 to 35 every game.
I think she had 23 yesterday.
Yeah. So hopefully in basketball, if you can make the tournament win enough games to make the tournament and see how far you can go in the tournament.
Right.
That's a good year. That's a really good year. So I think both men and women have a chance to do that right now. Our gymnastics team lost.
I did.
Very unusual. Very
They did
unusual.
lose, yep.
In fact, at the restaurant the other night, that was one of my trivia questions. When was the last time our Lady Gator gymnastics team lost a home meet? And actually,
Wouldn't have been last year.
Actually, there was some guy in here. He must keep up with it. He said 2019. I said, really? I didn't know the answer. 'Cause I thought it was 20 years ago last time we lost one. But he looked it up, and we did lose to Georgia. What's that? 4 or 5 years ago. So that's how good we've been in gymnastics. But
It's also a very subjective
it's young.
sport, too,
Yeah. Jen Rowland will get them going, and we'll be back fighting for the SEC here as the season goes.
And now, I mean, the Gator golf team's playing at the up Seabest tournament. Their baseball's getting ready to start. Softball's getting ready to start. It's a great time. I know that everything revolves around football around here, but it's still a great time. And you've always enjoyed going to see other sports play.
Oh yeah, the other sports they are doing very well, and track and swimmers and volleyball, just about everything except football. Has done extremely well.
I never thought we would get to that point where we go, everything except football.
Well, let me ask you this, Pat. You're a former sports writer. What's next for Bill Belichick?
TV.
What's next? Do a little TV? If he
That's
doesn't
what
get
I'm
a
hearing.
job?
And that's the irony is he
don't know.
had no use for the media. Well, he was a coach, but now he'll be on TV.
Now, Tom Brady's supposed to do that, I think, this year.
Yeah,
After he took his
he
1
is.
year off, Fox is paying him millions just to be out there. I don't know. Some guys may like that. I don't see Nick Saban doing that on a every week basis.
You don't see him being in
I
the
don't see
SEC
him doing
Nation or
that.
anything like that?
When I finished up, I went and talked to one of the people with SEC Nation, and Dan Mullen. Now he's good at it, and he enjoys doing it. And anyway, the lady said, "Now you're going to need to know the names of all the top players on each team. So you're going to have to study a little bit." And so there's a little work involved, but traveling around, that just didn't excite me to do that.
And again,
whatever reason.
Dan's still, younger guy.
Yeah, he's a younger guy, and he should.
I know that Charlie Strong wants to do that too. He was trying to get me, see if I could help him out with that, and he's trying to get Mullen to help him out. But
TV gig.
yeah. But that's what I mean. Sometimes I'll watch a guy and I'll go, "Well, this guy hated the media, and now he's on the media." I'm trying to figure it out. Whether it's
that's true too.
Chip Kelly or any of these guys that are anti-media, and then they jump all over it. But are you surprised that Belichick, nobody has, only the Falcons have even talked to him?
To tell you the truth, it appeared that he wanted to win 15 games somewhere.
Right.
So if you're the owner of a team, are you going to hire a
To
guy
catch Don Shula.
that
right.
wants to win 15 games and then he's out of here? Probably out of here. I don't know. And it may take two years at least to win 15 games wherever he goes. Or do you find a young guy that maybe you can build your team around, the organization and all that? So I think that's what it came down to. And I don't know if he'll get a job or not now. Who knows?
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing that this guy who's got all these Super Bowl rings can't get hired.
Well, his offensive coordinator got a job, Bill O'Brien.
He did, yeah.
Ohio State hired him as the offensive coordinator. So
The guy who said that Jalen
sad,
Milroe
yeah.
can't play.
Yeah. Well, the offense was pretty sad. Didn't hurt him,
No.
but I guess it hurt Belichick. But it depends on how you look at all these things, so forth.
No, there's no doubt. I mean, I'm still waiting to see if Dan Quinn gets that Seattle job because he's a good dude. I hope he does.
I agree. Yeah.
Really good guy. All right, we do have the Spurrier Awards coming up. It's coming up in what, a couple weeks now, right? 3 weeks.
Yeah, about third weekend in February, I
Yeah.
think it is. And I think the top two candidates right now are the Barry Odom out at UNLV,
yeah.
and then Jamie Caldwell at Liberty. Those are our two leading candidates right now. So we'll see how all the votes come in here pretty soon. see how it plays out.
Aren't you giving out another award too?
Well, we're trying to. We do give out a Legend Award,
Right.
and I think Mark Rick is going to be our recipient. I think
Cool.
that's out there. Bobby Stoops came in 2 years ago for that, and Mike Griffith, the sports writer that really put all this together, he's a Georgia Bulldog guy, so he loves Coach
Well, he
Rick.
used to be a Tennessee guy, so
Yeah, he did. He did. He worked at Tennessee. But, yeah, Mark Rick is a really nice, wonderful guy. He's a good guy in the coaching profession. So we're going to honor him with the Legend Coach Award.
I always liked Mark Rick, but I rooted against him his whole life, pretty much, But I always liked him, and whenever I needed something at SEC Media Days, I could pull him off to the side and get him, and he was really good about that. And that's the interesting part of I just don't know why people can't just be respecting the media and just going through the motions, but. You were the best of all time. There's no doubt about it, because you would always have a great joke for us, story for us, and everything. But some of these people that just hate being in the media room and hate talking to those guys, I don't get it.
And some coaches don't let their assistants talk.
No, including, I think, this one.
This one doesn't let them talk much, that's for sure. In fact, it took me to the end of the year to know who the offensive coordinator was, because they never announced, our offensive coordinator, we all know it's the line coach, which is, I guess, his prerogative to name him the offensive coordinator. But I don't know how the line coach is going to draw up pass patterns. Do you?
He's not. No, we know who's
call plays, not going to
yeah.
call plays. Although at Georgia Tech, when I was up there with Pepper, Larry Travis, the offensive line coach, he'd been with him a long time.
He played here, right?
Yeah, he's a Gator. He was a Gator. He had the title of coordinator. And then late in the year, though, Pepper, I said, Coach, I was up top, and my job was, you got third and long passes, okay? 3rd and 10 or more, you call the play. And everybody played a big, soft, 2 deep zone or 5 short, 3 deep, and we couldn't find anywhere to hit anything. And finally, I asked Coach Rogers, I said, if you let me call some on first down, Coach, we can hit some passes. Guarantee you we can hit them.
Yeah.
There's more room to throw on first down. So he allowed me to be the play caller the last 4 games. We won 3 of them. I guess that wasn't enough, because he got fired at the end of the year there.
All right, let's get to our Campus USA play of the weekend. Of course, Campus USA Coach Spurrier is also a spokesperson for them, but they're a major sponsor of our podcast.
A lot of time.
So much, and here it was. I still can't believe
right
that what happened, where the ball bounces off the guy's helmet. Now, I know when you're running and you're trying to, find the ball, and sometimes those kind of weird things happen, but he just couldn't get his hands up, I think, and was part of it.
Hey,
and he was going to get called for
obviously, he should have let it just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had him well covered, and then let it bounce off his face mask to the 49er guy there.
Brandon Ayuk, who is, I tell you, has had a unbelievable year. There's some great players in this league that, like St. John's, that people don't even know that much about, know. I was explaining to my wife some of this, and I was mansplaining it to her, and she was like, I get it. I get that he's good. Okay. All right, Coach, anything else for you?
Oh, that's about it. We got, a couple weeks before the Super Bowl, but it should be should be a close game.
I think it's going to
be. Both teams are
I
solid.
have no feel for who's going to win that game at all.
Come down to 1 or 2 plays, probably. And I don't know. I would say Kansas City will be favored by 3.
They are not.
Just,
right now, it's
what?
Niners by 2.5. Right
You're
now.
kidding.
No. That was the opening line anyway. But I think a lot of money will go on the Chiefs and get that line switched, because you're not going to bet against Mahomes.
That's true, too. Yeah, that's true, too.
He's just been so successful.
But anyway, our basketball teams are hopefully making a good run, and hopefully get ready to end the season positive notes. I tell you, like we talked about last week, women's basketball, they're having sellouts just about all over the country right now.
Yeah, did you watch that South Carolina LSU game?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Watched it, and watched a bit of the South
It was an
Carolina.
unbelievable game, wasn't it?
Yep. It was a great game. Yep. And Angel Reese fouled out right at the end there that hurt it, or it might have stayed close even into overtime. But those 2 teams are probably the two best right now, LSU
Oh, yeah.
and
No
South
doubt.
Carolina.
That's the thing. I go, well, if they can do it at South Carolina, why can't they do it here? I mean, there was nothing going on there before Don Staley got there, right?
Yeah, Don Staley did it there, and she started gradually, getting better and better and better, and then obviously recruiting. She gets a lot of the best, and but she's such a good coach, and they don't. She coaches like John Wooden. They don't get two up or two down. They don't care who they're playing. They're gonna come and play as hard as they can the entire game. And when it's all over, we'll look up and see what score is. One of those kind of things.
Yep.
So that's the way they do it. They, they're not up and down. They're always ready to go play.
She's a very impressive person.
Yep.
Every time I hear her talk, too. So I was definitely rooting for South Carolina in that game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. So they'll have a chance to make a run at it again this year.
Yep. I haven't lost a game yet.
All right. They're still undefeated.
All right. Yeah, they beat Vanderbilt. That was actually a pretty good game on Saturday or Saturday. Was that Saturday?
That was close for a while, but I think South Carolina won
Pulled
by
away
almost
at the
20.
end,
At
yeah,
the
but
end
it was
there.
interesting for a while.
Yeah, it sure was. All right, so let's hope our men's basketball and women's basketball can, get better as the season goes. You either get better or worse in life.
That's right,
So
exactly.
We're coming off wins, so maybe we can take off from there.
All right, that'll do it for Coach Spurrier's segment. With brought to you as always by Meldon Law. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and brought to you in the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coaches Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. As always, it's a great privilege and good time to bring in our friend Robbie Andrew. Of course, we worked together for a long time in side-by-side cubicles and have known each other forever, but we have him on the show every Monday to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe on the Yes, No, Where, Maybe Cheesesteaks Zoom line. Robbie, how are you on this fine Monday?
Good, Pat. How are you? Did you enjoy the football?
I did enjoy it very much. The teams I wanted to win won, so that was important.
You want the Niners over the Lions?
I did, and like I knew I should have been rooting for the Lions because they had Anzalone and Chauncey, but I've been rooting for the Niners all year. I don't know. I'm weird. My NFL affiliations are just plain weird. They're
when
odd.
you lost the Rams, the LA Rams, that was it.
Yeah, that was it. Done with them.
Done
with them.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe with Robbie Andrew, of course, brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. If you go in there and say you watched or listened to another duly noted podcast, free fries with your order. Number one, Robbie, you are more optimistic about Florida's chances to make the tournament after their 3-game winning streak.
Maybe, Pat. With like 8-10 minutes still in the game the other day, I would have said yeah, but then they put on one of the biggest choke jobs I've seen in a long time, and I've never seen a team get layup after layup after layup every time down the court. When that failed, they got a wide open three and made that. So they should have never let Georgia back in that game. If they had blown them out, I would say, yeah, their chances are much better now. I feel much better about the tournament, but now I don't know. Schedule only gets tougher from here.
We're 20 games in. This is pretty much what this team is. They're going to score a lot of points. Hopefully they score more than the other team, but that's the only way they can win because they can't D up. They just can't do it. I don't know. Like, I watch people get incredibly hot. You remember that kid Bates got 36 against Florida in a losing effort.
Yeah, they've had a guy line him up every week.
I know. This guy is 35 in a losing effort. Connect lit him up there, They just – I don't know if they're – I know they're teaching defense, but I just don't think these guys are skilled at that. Maybe they're not long enough, arm-wise. But
Pat, here's the problem I had watching the game. If you can't cover the other team man-to-man, do they not know how to play zone defense at all? Do they never play zone? If you're giving up nothing but layups, don't you go to a zone to try to stop that? But if if you can't cover man-to-man, you got to go to a zone.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of zone defenses as a rule, but I think it's good to at least mix it up. At least every once in a while do that. And I think maybe that's something Florida will try against Kentucky, but of course Kentucky will shoot you right out of that zone.
It doesn't really matter what you play against them.
All right, number 2, Robbie, the Chiefs, my Chiefs, will repeat as Super Bowl champions. Yes, nowhere, maybe.
I'm going to say yes, Pat. And I think, Mahomes is hot. His receivers are making plays. But the big thing for me with KC is their defense. The way they played yesterday, they just dominated. Lamar Jackson couldn't do anything. He had no time. He wasn't able to use his legs at all. And then, they made those 2 critical turnovers in the end zone. But the Chiefs, to me, the difference with them and everybody else right now is the way they're playing defense and getting after opposing quarterbacks.
Yeah, just think if Zay Flowers doesn't fumble, if Lamar Jackson doesn't throw into triple coverage there at the end, who knows what we'd have, how that game would have turned out. But those are mistakes.
Yeah, they pitched a shutout.
Yeah, those are mistakes
the Ravens
that they
defense
made,
pitched a shutout. Yeah.
All right, and finally,
they had a chance to win and blew it.
Number 3, Robbie, on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. You are sad that football season has only one game remaining.
Yes, absolutely, Pat. I always get depressed in the last game of the year. I remember back when I was a kid, after New Year's Day, it was really depressing to me because college football was over. And then it got to the point where once the Super Bowl ends, then it's like, disappointed the football's going to be ending.
Yep, absolutely.
What about you?
No, I'm the same way. I was doing our swamp games of the week, and I was like, there's basketball going on still.
It's just not the same.
And no matter how much they try to pump up this combined USFL and XFL, it's still the same crappy show. There's.
I'm not going to watch any of it.
No, I haven't watched it yet. Every time I try to watch a little bit, I go, I've never heard of any of the players. You know why? Because they're not SEC players. Because the SEC players are all in the NFL or got real jobs.
Exactly. Good point, Pat. But yeah, I have zero interest in that league.
Yeah, they made Colin Cowherd do this thing where he says, these are the 2 best spring leagues we've ever seen. Now they're combined into one. And I'm like, what? The best spring league was the original USFL. Nobody's ever going to come close. Yeah. 58 players going to the NFL out of that league. So please don't say that.
Yeah, good question, Pat.
All right, Robbie, we'll let you get back to being a house husband.
Pat.
All right, we'll see you later, man.
Always good talking to you. Okay,
all right,
see you,
Robbie.
Pat. Bye.
All right, Robbie Andrew, joining us here on our show. Okay, well, let's get to our not Campus USA. We just did our Campus USA play of the weekend, but we do need to get to Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. And, of course, we always enjoy that. Ken Hesser and Jennifer Kipke do such a great job. And We appreciate them as sponsors very much. Hesser and Kipke, of course, is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of family law and workers' compensation. If you're a loyal listener to this show, you know who we are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say. Ken and Jennifer can be reached 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. Hesser and Kipke. 3 things. All right, let's get to number 1, which is a ranking I saw of the worst collapses in the playoffs. And I didn't agree with it completely. They had the Lions collapse number 2. Number 1, I do agree with. Falcons up 28-3 in the Super Bowl. Come on, man. I know it's against Brady, but come on, man. You can't give up a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, and I think that is number 1. I think number 2 is the Oilers. 92, that game was, they were up 35-3. 35-3 and lost the game. Frank Reich leading the comeback. So that they had a couple others up there. Their number 2 one was the Lions game. There were a couple that were pretty obvious, but to me, I go 1 would be the Falcons, 2 would be the Oilers losing that game, back when they were the Oilers. Now, what are they now? Texans and the Titans. Yeah. They're both.
Titans are the Oilers.
Yes, Titans are the Oilers are the Texans.
Well, the Texans are just like a new franchise.
Yeah, they're still in Houston, though.
Yeah.
All right, that is number 1 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things was Florida losing to Alabama in gymnastics on Friday night. I watched it all. I didn't think I thought there was some judging errors there, especially, Anya Pilgrim. I thought she had a terrific floor routine and got like a 9.8. Anyway, this happens early in the year. Losses and wins don't matter that much, but you still want to win. I think Florida's okay. Look, this Florida team is not going to win the national title, okay, guys? They're still fun to watch. There's still a great gymnast out there. But, you got DiCello sitting out the year for the Olympics. You've got somebody who was was going to be your best, probably, gymnast sitting out the year for the Olympics. Other people are doing Olympic-only routines because they want to get ready for it. This is a year. Olympic years are a tough transition. So we'll see where Florida goes. Don't be upset that they lost. So their scores are a little low right now. You know what else isn't there? Trinity Thomas. Guess what? She played for 5 years. That's all she can do. Unless you're a Miami tight end, you can play for 9 years. So I don't know how that works, really. Finally, number 3 on Hesser and Kipke 3 things. I watched a ton of basketball this weekend, and Auburn became the latest ranked team in the top 10 to lose to an unranked team on the road. This has happened, I think, 25 times. No, it's 27, I think, is the number now. It's up to. It happens every weekend. And that's what I love about college basketball, but it's never been like this. It's a record for the most times that a top 10 team has lost to an unranked team. We talked about that last week. But it keeps happening. It just does because it's hard to win on the road. Jeff and I were talking about this on the podcast or on the radio show the other day about what is the biggest home field, home court, home whatever advantage. And we both kind of agreed that it was golf. Because if you're at home in golf, you know the course. You know how everything breaks. You know how far you can hit this club on this hole. And this is a downhill. And you know more about it. My second usually is baseball because you get to bat last, and I think that's a huge advantage. But basketball may be second because people are right on top of you screaming at you about what a terrible person your mother is constantly. And, I think that may be the number 2. I don't know. It's hard to say. What is that bigger than 90,000 people screaming at you? Yeah, because some of them are screaming and you can't hear them. They're way up there. Anyway, but that was the latest. Home field advantage, home court advantage is huge in basketball, and that's why you have to look at how teams did in neutral site games and on the road before you make your picks. because when March Madness comes, teams that only made their living at home aren't going to be at home anymore. Now, some of them are going to be close to home, and they'll still have a lot of people there, but it ain't going to be like it is in the NCAA tournament like it is during the regular season. So anyway, it's just crazy what's going on right now. I love it. I love to watch upsets, and I hope they continue throughout the tournament. I can think of one team in particular I would like to see get upset. And they almost did again this week. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Florida, Kentucky is your game. I'm giving you the spread because spreads don't come out until later. I'm giving it to you as Kentucky giving 7, okay? I made it up. I know that when Florida played Kentucky earlier, I think Florida was a 2.5 point or 3.5 point favorite, which is amazing. But since I haven't seen any spreads on it, I'm giving you the spread at 7. And that's what you're going to deal with. Would I take that? I'd be tempted, which says I may have set a good spread, because that's literally is what they try to do, is get people to bet both sides. So Florida getting 7 points at Kentucky. They're Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. Appreciate Kyle over there at Leonardo's. Let's get to our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend. And I had a lot of options here. Sometimes you don't have many options, and you're saying, I don't know, who am I going to make it, But I had plenty of options this week. I could have gone with Leilani Correa, could have gone with several basketball players. But I went with was Micah Hanlockton, who had a career game, really. 23 points, 17 rebounds, most rebounds since Alex Tyus in the NCAA tournament for Florida. And I remember that game so well. Alex Tyus blew up in that game. And then the next game they played, they lost. And Tyus was mad because he felt like they should have gone to him more. And so he got angry about that. But anyway, that was a good team. They lost in the Elite 8. Actually, the 17 he got, I think it was against BYU in the Sweet 16. So that's quite a feat. But Micah Hanlockton now is an Adams Ribco to go Gator of the weekend, I should say. And Alex Tyus can't say that because we didn't have a podcast back then. So he can't say that he was. But Micah can. And Adams Ribco to go can tell you that is a place to go for ribs and barbecue. We know that very well. Let's get to our Swamp Games of the week. Not much to go from here. Now, here's where I am losing it a little bit because obviously there's only one football game left, and that's not for 2 weeks. It's going to change, guys. We're going to have softball and baseball and all this stuff going on, but right now, I'll give you the game tonight. If you're listening on Monday, you can still watch it. To me, the best game is Houston at Texas. 9 o'clock game on ESPN. Houston's got a great defense. Texas is coming on, trying to make a run for the tournament. That'll be a good game. Tuesday night, I'm sure a lot of you will go over to the Swamp to watch South Carolina at Tennessee. It's a 6:30 game on the SEC network. I'm looking forward to that game. Of course, South Carolina keeps winning, and Tennessee keeps winning. They're really good. That'll be an interesting battle because they both major in defense. And then, of course, Wednesday, 8 o'clock, ESPN, Florida and Kentucky in Kentucky at Rupp Arena. Been there many times. I remember the first time I went, at the time, they only served popcorn in the press room. So you go there, and it's like a 7 o'clock game or whatever, and you go there and you're like, all right, well, I'll go there early because then I can eat, and just sit around, talk to guys. And I went there early, and all I had was popcorn. That wasn't good. That place and Miami Stadium, the Hard Rock, whatever it's called now, the only 2 places I've ever been where they didn't have food for the press. And, of course, we complain because we didn't have food. Free food. We can't live without free food. We had to go buy the food and eat it. How dare we? All right, that is going to do it for our Swamp Games of the weekend, and hopefully you guys head over to the Swamp Restaurant. Good times are had. Specials on sangria, specials on beer, specials on everything. And the food is terrific. Swamp Restaurant. We appreciate them. Let's get to our Pat Dooley story time, brought to you as always by Eastlake Pediatrics, Mike Jordan and the good folks there. We appreciate them. Today I'm going to talk about something that pains me very much, which is the passing away of my friend Martin Fennelly. Martin was a longtime columnist at Tampa Tribune. He almost was the columnist here. I had a choice between him and Mike Bianchi, and it was a tough call. And I kept, every time I go and read some of Martin's stuff, I go, he's the better writer. But Bianchi, I think, gets the Gainesville scene a little bit better. That was what I went with. I don't regret the hire, and Mike, of course, went on to bigger and better things. But it always kind of pained me. And the worst thing was I didn't call him for 2 days because I didn't want to have to tell him he didn't get the job. And when I finally did call him, he was not overly happy that he didn't get the job, but he wasn't overly happy that he already knew he didn't get the job. But you know what? Martin is such a good guy that we became really good friends after that. Whenever I would walk into an arena, though, and I would see Martin Fennelly, always wearing shorts, wore shorts everywhere. He's like me. I'm wearing long pants today, and it's because it got a little cold. That's a rarity when I'm wearing long pants. I love to wear shorts. He would wear, always with the cargo shorts in the press box. But when I would walk into a press box, I would see Martin and go, all right, you're hoping to have the second best column today because you're not going to have the best because you know Martin Fennelly's going to have it. Just a spectacular writer. Great writer. He was the writer I always wanted to be. Seriously. Had a massive heart attack, died way too young on Friday, and it's very painful to even talk about. Such a good writer. Unfortunately, he got laid off in a mass layoff in Tampa, and last time I really talked to him for a long time was a couple of years ago, and he was not in good spirits because of this, and you know he'd also gotten a divorce, and but stayed close to his family, and just a terrific person, and I think maybe the best writer I've ever been around. Those are two pretty good things to be. Anyway, rest in peace, Martin. I'm going to miss you, buddy. Miss you. I already miss you. And a lot of people, if you go on any of the sites, websites, Twitter or whatever, John Romano did a great piece and included some of his great lines on it. One of my, I quoted in my back nine column, he was writing about the Super Bowl, and he said, Super Bowls change addresses, but it always stops at the corner of Sodom and Gomorrah. Boy, that is just excellent writing. Anyway, you can go read anything he's written, and you can pick up any column he's written, and you'll go, wow, this is good. I wish Pat Dooley wrote like this. No, I'm not that good. I'm not up to that level. I am up to the level of finishing a podcast, though, and we got one done today. Appreciate Coach Spurrier for coming in again. Appreciate Robbie, as always, for being on Monday. Thursday, Paul Feinbaum. That should be very interesting. And, of course, Monday we'll have Coach Spurrier again, and then the following Thursday, Grant Holloway. So great guests lined up. If you want to be a sponsor, give me a call. We still have an opening for one sponsor to come in and be part of it. I can talk you through it. It's really cheap. It's not expensive at all. Until next time, thanks to Zach for doing a wonderful job as always. And we'll be back with another show on Thursday with Paul Feinbaum. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I'm way back, and I am out of here.